Hey guys, how's it going? Back for another live session for mentoring. I'm going to be setting this up for Augur real quick, and then we'll be getting started shortly. So let me just get this all set up here, and once it's good to go, I can send out this invite to Augur. All right. Hey Augur, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hey Augur, how's it going? Can you hear me? Just want to make sure you can hear me.
Hi, Shawn, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Not sure if you can hear me. Let me see if my mic is on properly. I think it should be. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it's working for me. Augur, can you hear me? I'm gonna send you a message on Telegram.
Hello.
Hi, Augur, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear. Can you hear?
Perfect. Yes, I can hear you. We're good to go.
Okay, great.
Perfect. All right, cool. So let's see. I don't think you sent like questions, right? So I think we'll be going off basically whatever ones you have today. So is there anything specific you want to cover? Is there like a strategy or any concept that you're confused with?
Yes, I think it's an overall a little bit of philosophical question regarding this whole trading strategy. My biggest problem, I think, is that I am supposedly not a bad trader, but I have no profit to show for it, and so this is yeah. So this is where I'm stuck. I've tried 3 different strategies, which are all jumped into your strategy. That's why it really spoke to me, because I am not able somehow in my head just go off an indicator. This is something I just very hard for me to do, just see a line crossing with a red sign and do it. For me, it kind of has to make sense. So with the strategy, like I can see how it's built on the price action and everything, and I can see it's solid. It's not some airy indicator showing me I don't know what. I kind of get the principle behind it, but my chart looks like this, that I have a zone drawn from a daily, zone drawn from 4 hours, zone drawn from 1 hour, and then I'm trying to scalp Forex on 30 minutes using all the indicators that are available. And it's very hard for me to all of it to align. Do you know what can you imagine that scenario?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. So when I first started trading, I did the same thing. I did a top-down analysis. So I go on the daily, draw my zones, go on the 4 hour, draw my zones, go on the 1 hour, draw my zones. Kind of similar to what you're referring to here. The problem with doing that is that there's too many things on the chart, right? You're drawing too many zones, and sometimes things don't line up. where it makes it impossible for you to like, catch a decent trade. So depending on which strategy that you like to apply, we can zone in on that specifically, and I can help you with, figuring that out. I understand what you're saying though. It's a whole trade psychology thing. It's like you've learned a certain way and you kind of want to know the logic behind everything. So it just really depends on, which strategy you like to apply. And then I can break it down more in detail so I can explain to you, what's the logic behind that specific strategy. So do you have a specific one that you like to apply, or is it just open for now?
Yes, I am open, but I would like to scalp UK 100 and I would like to scalp AU 200 because of the time zone. I think if it is something that I can profit on, I never tried this before, but this might be something that I can do in the morning rather than wait until 7 p.m. my time to start trading,
Oh yeah,
because
definitely. Yeah.
because I cannot do US session. I can only do US Open, and that's for an hour, and that's about it, And
Yeah, definitely.
so scalping on Forex, is 30 minutes the best time frame? Is 15 minutes also valid? Is it okay to go and use the scalping strategy on a 30-minute, like a pivot scalping strategy? And if there is no entry on 30 minutes, flick to 15 minutes and pick and choose, or should I just focus on one and
So depending on what you're trading. So if you want to trade Forex during, if you know, and you want to scalp it, then it just depends on like which time frame, like which time zone you're trading on. So if you're trading on the Asia session, it's going to be harder for you to scalp the smaller moves. So trading on the 10 minute is going to be a little bit harder because, obviously you're aware that during Asia session, the pips don't move as much as they do during, US and London session. So for example, here you can see like Euro odd, even though it's an Australian pair and we're during the, we're in the Aussie session right now, you'll see that during London session, it moves very, very fast. It'll move like, 30 to 40 pips. And then during US session right here, it drops even further, like 100 pips. And then you compare it over here to like Asia session, it's very, very slow. So you compare this to Asia session. So Asia session opens here about 1300 hours. So you can see like throughout the entire Asia session, it moves only slightly. It only moves like probably until London session, it moves about maybe 20 to 30 pips total. So if you want to trade here on the Asia session, you can scalp it. It's just going to be a little bit harder because you don't have much room for you to really scalp with, depending if you're trading on the 30-minute or if you're trading on the 10-minute. Versus if you're trading here from midnight, which is London open, up until US open here, it moves quite a bit more, about 30 to 40 pips versus 20 pips during Asia session. So there's no right or wrong like a time frame to trade on. You can trade on the 10-minute. Obviously, you can see here that there are some entries that appear if you're applying the scalping strategy that we've been implementing more often recently. If you were to take trades here during Asia session, it still works. It's just that it's going to be harder for you to really catch trades at a good time because they're just moving sideways. So if you're looking at these trades here during Asia session, it moves very slow where you can catch trades, but depending on how wide your spread is. So if you have a good spread, then you should be fine. But if your spread is too wide, it's going to be like impossible for you to catch moves here because you can see here, if you were to catch this is like a 10 pip move. It's kind of hard because you have to count, your spread. Say if your spread is 5 pips, right? And then
I get all that. Yeah.
So so if you're scalping on this, I think you'd probably be better off on the 30-minute. So if you go on the 30-minute, you can see here there's a lot more entries that are available. And you can just
Sorry to interrupt you. I just had coffee, so now I'm really my brain is kicking in. Because there is kind of two schools of trading. My friend tells me, listen, there is no one strategy. You just trade what markets tell you what's profitable, and this is what K2 is. It's a bunch of different strategies that you can pretty much pick and choose and see where the entry is. And then there is a whole another one that I've been listening for, a year now, saying that you pick one strategy and you stick with that one strategy for better or for worse, and you wait, And so this is where I'm torn.
Yeah.
Because I can see sense in both. And Yeah, and at some point I was never successful enough in any particular one of those strategies to be able to turn actual profit, dollars in my hands. But at the same time, I was catching enough pips to, I don't know, pass FTMO, but then I couldn't get verified because the month was so bad. 2 months were so bad and some bad decisions on my part. And, I burned that. So yeah, I'm really hoping for a breakthrough here with K2 and with the help of the indicators, especially the momentum indicator. I'm really interested to know a little bit of a logic behind it, because when you see sometimes a red line across your screen, but there is a green candle inside. I
Yes.
remember you were saying that something like, oh, that's a sign of manipulation, or a lot of the times.
Yes,
So
that's right.
if there's a red stripe and a green candle inside, then is the manipulation the green candle, or is the manipulation the red sign? Which one is actually the more trustworthy one? And kind of what of it is based? Because I'm looking at the trend meter a lot as well. Because this is something that was important in one of my strategies. So I'm kind of attached to the trend meter a little bit.
Yes, definitely. So the trend meter, the way that the trend meter works is, so basically the algorithm detects the trend on 4 different time frames. So for example, and the way that this has been developed is that it uses data from different aspects. One of the more important ones is the Ichimoku cloud. Are you familiar with Ichimoku cloud?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so basically the way that this works is this is like a combination between Ichimoku cloud and other trend indicators. So what I did was, I've been trading for a long time, so I have a lot of trend indicators that I've used over the years. And what I did was I pulled the best parts from each of those trend indicators, and I put them into this one indicator where I can determine the overall trend, with regard to what time frame that we're trading on. So if you want to use the Ichimoku cloud as, for example, I'm sure you're aware that if price is above the cloud, it's trending up. If price is below, it's trending down, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So for example, for this, you can use the Ichimoku cloud as like the main foundation for this indicator. Basically, you're able to determine whether price is above the cloud on each of these 4 indicators. If they're above the cloud on all four time frames, then
Yeah, that's right.
yeah. So you kind of get it now, right?
Yeah. Now I remember, from the course, the first few videos on the course kind of still have the Ichimoku cloud on. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So like, yeah, in those first versions, we had 4 windows open, but it's too complicated if you're looking at 4 charts at once. So instead of having that, I made the trend meter to make it a lot more efficient, easier to follow.
And then with the bar, so when you said that like it's a sign of a manipulated price action at that moment, so should the stripe running across is the one that's more trustworthy than the candle then, right? Like, so if it's a green candle inside the red stripe, you'd still think, oh, it might be manipulated as a move up, but it's down.
Yes, that's correct. So the vertical lines, the indicators, that would be the leading. So that'd be leading. For example, here, like right here, for example, we have the red candle that's within the green buy signal. And you can see that even though it pushed down a little bit, it's still pushed up slightly. So it pushed down slightly and then it pushed up even, at least like 16, 17 pips right there before it ended up coming down where we got the sell signal in, the opposite direction.
Yeah.
This generally happens when, I'm sure, are you familiar with the options market?
Not so much, no.
Okay, so basically for the options market, the contracts usually close at they close at the top and bottom of the hour. So basically, or like whenever it's like 00 at the end of the time, that's usually when the contracts expire. Or if
Right.
Yeah. So like, for example, here, yeah, like we have a invalid signal. So basically you can see that there was let me just take this off the chart. You can see that there's a wick here because with this wick here, it indicates that price was actually above here, within that time. So if I go back here, let me just go back to 11:30. I'll just rewind it. And then I will go back to the shorter, like maybe like the 5-minute candles. So 11:30 from right here. So you can see from this point right here from 11 to 11:30, this is how price was moving. So you can see that price was actually going sideways, and then right before it pushed up, this is probably when we got the buy signal. And then as soon as this happened, you see at the last 5 minutes, it just drops heavily from way up here all the way down here within the last 5 minutes. It drops a full 10 pips within a few minutes, right? So you could kind of see here that price was somewhat manipulated, because if you go back on the 30-minute, you can see that price was actually up here up until maybe 11:25. And then as soon as it got to 11:30, the last 5 minutes, it just dropped suddenly, because in the options market, usually the strike price will be somewhere like maybe up here. So within those 5 minutes, whoever had the option for the call where they were predicting that price was going to be above here, that's where price currently was. And then as soon as the candle closed, it just dropped automatically. So whoever had the option above here ended up losing. So does that make sense to you, how the option market works?
Yes, and it makes a lot of sense in what has been happening with, on a different strategy that I was trading, and that is exactly what was happening. We're hanging around for an hour to wait for the move, and the move happened in the last 5 minutes, and it was scaring you for 55 minutes that it's gonna take you out. So this is exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and that's market manipulation there. So obviously it's clear market manipulation when you see something like that happening. And it happens from time to time. It's something that you can't really avoid. It's just something that you have to be cognizant about. You have to know that it's actually happening so that you're not confused. You're not like, oh, maybe I'm taking a wrong entry here, but in reality, it's just happening, within those last few minutes of the hour.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, okay. And so for the 30-minute scalping on Forex, let's say, because that's the one that I took a trade yesterday, and what's happened in the past as well, that I was doing kind of okay on my own, like not on my own completely, using obviously some people's strategies or courses or something like this, but trading, not using signals or anything like this. And then the moment I start using signals, everything goes to hell for me. And so now I've paid for another FTMO, and I've promised myself not to follow any signals. So yesterday I got the new login and I took a first trade on GA. Can we go through it, and can you tell me if that was valid or not? Because I was a bit unsure.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So which strategy were you applying? So we can probably analyze it.
Yeah, so in my head, well, I thought I was applying the scalping on on 30 minutes.
Okay.
But if that was a valid entry or not, I'm not sure,
Gotcha.
So, okay, let me go into GA and check which one it was.
So for the scalping strategy, we're using the pivot strategy, or we're using the new one, the new snipe strategy that we've been applying?
Yeah, the new snipe, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
That's pretty much like a what do you call it? Better version of the pivot, really, right? Like it's like the new and improved or something.
Exactly, yeah. So the pivot strategy before, it's still a good strategy. The only problem with it is that it's a laggy strategy. So you wait for the confirmation with the signal, but for the new strategy, we're reacting to price action. So if we see price reject off, a structure and reject off the pivot, then we're acting off that instead of waiting for the momentum signal, which is it's a little bit of a laggier, because you get it a little later. Like usually sometimes you'll get a buy or sell signal, and then it happens a little past when the move already happens, because it waits for that confirmation before it gives you the signal. It doesn't give you it right away. It usually wants to confirm that price is actually moving that direction before it actually gives you it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me look up. Do you remember what time was the entry that you took, so I can go back?
So on FTMO, the time is 12:40.
Your time, right? Or is that FTMO time?
It's FTMO time, yeah.
Okay, let me pull up the time zone converters.
Oh, sorry, I am just the time converting thing.
I know it's a little difficult for all of us, I think, because all of us are kind of located in different places. So let's see. I think FTMO uses CDT time, so Central or CST. Central time.
I can go on TradingView and find it.
I think they use I'm trying. Oh no, CES time. Okay, CST. That's what I think. This is what they use. or you know, it'll probably be better if we just pull up the chart. Let me see if I can find it here. So I'll just look for an entry on that point. There were a couple entries over here that were actually available. So there was actually a lot of entries here that were available during yesterday. Could you confirm that time again, August? Sorry, I
It
forgot.
was 12:40 on so it was okay. So it was 20:00 on trading view.
Okay, 2000. So I think
That candle, you know, that was the candle that kind of,
got
or the next one,
okay.
maybe
I'll
something
mark
like
it up.
this.
Yeah, I'll mark it up right here. Let's see. So this is 2000 on my time. Is this the one that you're looking at? I just want to make sure that it's the proper one here.
Mhm.
Or if you can point it out to see, you know, if you see which one you were looking at.
Oh, to the left, to the left, to the right. Sorry, to the
Okay.
right, to the 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 right. Yeah.
Right here, this green one or
So
the red one?
before that green one, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'll just rewind to that point right there. So yes, this is a perfect entry right here. So for example, here you have the rejection off the pivot. You also have the wick rejection off the structure. So this is a perfect entry right here. You can see the requirements. First requirement is rejection off the pivot. It's a nice
Oh, I think
rejection.
my entry was right before that. Sorry, one candle or two candles before.
Oh, it's fine.
That's really, yeah.
Yeah, these are all
So it
entries.
didn't drop yet then. That's what it
Oh,
is. Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
So are you taking this green one right here or this red?
Before and before. The
Okay,
green one, one before and one before. That I think that's it.
this one right
I
here.
think once that one, yeah, that's, I think
Once it closed, you
something.
took it.
Do you know why is it so hard to see which one it was? It's crazy.
There's so many entries here though. So if you took any of these here, these are actually, this is an entry. There's a lot of entries here. It looks like price was consolidating and it provided for a lot of entries. So it just really depends on which one you took. They're all good entries though. You can see here, for example, we have
So you see how those little candles in that consolidation zone towards the end of the consolidation, they
yes,
kind of like cross through the pivots, but sit on another zone. And this is what's kind of putting off. But then when you go on a higher time frame, it just looks so much better. It looks like it has so much room to drop. So this is where I am as well. Like I then go to the 4 hour and see where the next zone on 4 hour is. Don't do that at all while you're scalping, right?
that's correct. So for scalping, I try to just focus on one time frame because obviously, you know, if you go on the 4 hour, you're looking far into the future. You're looking maybe 4 to 8 hours ahead of time. And that's irrelevant when you're scalping because you just want to get in the trade quickly. You know, you get in for
And this is what this is where my head is saying, no, no, I can't go there. Um, how can I break through that? Not to try and go to daily, to weekly, look for the daily thing. Oh no, on daily support, I can only buy, I cannot sell. This is where I'm stuck in my head. It's so
exactly.
hard to break through.
Yeah, no, that was a problem with me for the longest time too. I was, you know, in my head, I was convinced myself that you have to follow the higher time frame. You know, if you don't follow the higher time frame, you're gonna be analyzing incorrectly. For me, it's just it came with a lot of practice. You know, obviously when I
Mhm.
first started trading, I wasn't always profitable. I lost a lot of money as well. You know, my first, I'd say maybe my first 3 to 5 years, I was losing money. I was never profitable, and then I finally became profitable once I kind of train my psychology. You know, I was like, okay, I need something here is not right, so I have to do something different in order to change this. So that's when I started just applying, you know, certain strategies for certain scenarios. Like for example, here, if you're going to be scalping, then I would just stay on the 30 minute. So if you want to scalp on the 30 minute, just focus on the 30 minute. Don't go on anything higher. Don't go on anything lower, and just keep it simple. I feel like a lot of traders, including myself in the beginning, like you feel like this need to overcomplicate things, right? You feel like it's so simple that it doesn't make sense to you, or you think you need to add something different to it. Um, and that's like where I come into play with K2. I try to make it as simple as possible. So like, for example, here, if you want to scalp the Forex pairs on the 30 minute, then I recommend that you just stay on the 30 minute. If you want to scalp on the 10 minute, then just stay on the 10 minute. You know, try to force yourself not to go on any higher time frames or any lower ones, because the problem with this, so for example, here on the 30 minute, you can see it's trending down, right? If we go on the 4-hour, it's the complete opposite. It's trending up. So that's why you could get very confused if that's the case, because the 4-hour and the 30-minute are vastly different. For here, it's trending down. And then if you even go on the daily, it's trending up. So you're not going to want to take any sells at this point. So you kind of get what I'm saying?
Well, yes, it's trending up, but then at the same time, it's between the zones. So really, it is heading towards support. So it's a sell for me, So for me, I would go on daily and I would look on the, how your indicator draws zone for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do that manually. I would draw zones on daily using as far historical data as I need to have a zone somewhere in a place where the current price is. And that would determine the direction of the movement. So as we look at the screen right now, for me, I would only sales in that scenario because we've passed that red candle that's currently printing. It's past that zone on top. It broke below it, so it's in. It's heading towards the support. So it's in. Yeah. So for me, this looking at daily, I would only ever look for sales, no matter what. And this is where the difficulty is, because then you look at this movement, and I would do that on FTSE. So when you look at the 5-minute time frame for trade only sells, you see so many buys that pass you by.
Exactly. And it goes back and forth. So that's the main difference, because if you look at the daily, you have to keep in mind that these candles, they're moving like hundreds of pips, right? So you're looking at this here, it's moving like, 90 pips for the day. And then like the previous day, it's moving, like 200, 300 pips. So if you're comparing this to scalping, this is like, it's going to be irrelevant, because if you're on the shorter time frame, you'll see that price will swing back and forth more often. So for one daily candle, you'll see it's just going one direction, but in reality, it's actually moving back and forth. So you can see right here from the 3rd, February 3rd, it's going down, and then, midway through the session, it goes up. So that's why scalping is a lot easier on the shorter time frames, because you can trade buys and you can trade sells. And then your risk is a lot less, because if you're trading on the daily, or if you're focused on the higher time frames, the moves are going to be a lot wider. Like for example, here on the 30-minute, if you were to take a scalp here, your move is probably only going to be maybe 25 to 30 pips, for a small scalp. If you're looking on the 4-hour or something higher, and say you wanted to scalp here, your range here is going to be a lot wider. So instead of going for 25 pips, you might be going for like maybe 40 pips to go in those directions. Do you see the difference between the higher and lower time frames?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my recommendation is to just stick with like one time frame. If you're scalping, you should stick on the lower ones anyways, because you're not really going for the big moves. That's why looking at the zones for like the daily and the 4-hour they're somewhat irrelevant, because you're just wanting to get into these trades right away. Like for example, here, if you wanted to enter this, scalp right here, you obviously wouldn't go for this far of a move. You might go for maybe like 20 pips, maybe 25 pips at most. So if we did that, and then you were to take the scalp here for 25 pips, you can see that it hits, profit within a few candles here. It hits profit within maybe 3 hours. But if you're looking on the 4-hour candle, this wouldn't even close the 4-hour candle, because it technically the 4-hour candle is still running between, these candles right here, because it hasn't closed yet.
Yeah, exactly, yes. And so on the Australia 200, so when do you determine when you can go from a sale to buy? Because that would be the hardest, really hardest one for me. And I'm looking for a safe option, like something. So for example, I'm looking at the there is on a. Yeah, it kind of goes from sell to buy. If you look at the Australia 200, you see that in the last while, like it kind of crosses from the top. So when do I know?
Let me draw these zones real quick, and I'll show you real quick what I'm looking for here. Let's see. So I have these drawn up. So basically the way that let me just draw these other ones down here as well. So basically the thing that I'm looking for when I'm taking these trades, whether I'm taking a buy or a sell, I'm generally taking trades in one direction until price crosses the other way. So let's see, I think the one that we're looking for right here is when it crosses. So for example, right here, we have, so we have one entry right here, right? We have a sell entry right here where price rejects off the structure and it rejects off the pivot as well. So right there, it rejects off the green pivot right here, and then it rejects off the structure. So when you have that, you would take a short position here. So if you were to take this trade, you know, obviously it would hit full TP there. And then at this point, you're only looking for sells, right? Because you're looking for these rejections. So again, right here, there's another entry. So we'll just move forward through this and I'll show you when I would shift it. So right here, we take a sell. There's an entry again right here. There's another pivot, scalp right there as well. So we take another short position right here. And then obviously that hits full TP again. So another TP there. If you wanted to take this one as well, this is another pivot, rejection scalp right there. So if you were to take this trade right here again, another short position right there. And looks like there's a lot of wins here. If you were to take all of these trades, again right here, or actually there's no entry there. Let me see, move forward a little further. Okay, so from this point now, it's starting to shift upwards. So we're currently taking sells, but if we see a valid entry for a buy, then that's when we would shift to a buy. But let me see if we could find one here. If one appears, okay, so.
So you do wait for it to cross pivots?
Not necessarily. So like, for example, here, let me see. So if it doesn't, so like right here, price didn't cross the pivots right here for this one. So it doesn't necessarily.
No, it didn't,
Yeah. So as long as there's an entry, if you see the requirements where they meet, you know, the rejection off the pivot and the structure, you can still take it even though it hasn't crossed all the pivots just yet. Let me see if there's another one here that we could possibly, where it hasn't crossed yet, and then you could possibly, actually, let me go forward and we'll see if we could find one here.
Well, there's heaps of them just to the left on the top, from the top of that drop, right?
From right
or
here.
not? Oh, no, because they don't touch the zone. Okay, right.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So I'm going to see if I could find one over here where it shifts above. So yeah, if it's above the pivots, it'll be a lot cleaner because it's easier for you to see, you know, if you're taking the trade in that direction. But it doesn't necessarily have to be above the pivot or below. We're just looking for the requirements to be met in order for us to take this trade. For example, here again, so we have another rejection. So you can see that price shifted. It was going down. We took these sells here. Then it shifted above, but there's no entries here available, right, for the buy. So there's no buys that we would take. Again, right here, price shifts back down, and then it's back into sell again because we have the requirements met here where it rejects off the pivot and the structure. So we'd enter, you know, another short position there. And obviously it hits full TP again. So if you took all these trades here, these all would have hit, you know, straight full TP. Let's see if we could find one where it shifts in the other direction. Let's see if I can find some buys for you here. Okay, so this right here, see how price didn't shift above to the other trend yet? It's still below the pivots, but the price still fits the requirements here. So you can see that the wick rejection is from the lower pivot right here, and it's also rejecting off the structure as well. Do you see what I'm saying right here? Okay, so for this point, instead of taking sells, we have the rejection from the bottom. So we would take a buy from here. So instead of going from sells, now we shift to buys, and then it ends up hitting TP in the other direction. But the trend hasn't been established yet. You see what I mean by that? Yeah. So what we're looking for here is just the requirements to be met. Obviously, we're not looking for anything specific, you know, with regard to the trend, because for scalping, they're very quick moves. Like it can be a quick move for like maybe 10 or 20 minutes where it just shoots up in the other direction, even though it's trending down. You can catch that retracement upwards where you can make a profit. You get out and then you wait for the next one. So here's an example for where it would shift right away. So right here, we have this win right here. But say if you were to, say if you missed this trade right here, right? Say you missed this one and then you ended up seeing this one right here, because this is actually a sell right here. So this right here would be a sell because it rejects off the pivot above and it rejects off the structure. So right here, you would take a sell position, even though, you know, you technically have a buy position running right here. So depending if you missed this trade right here and you just, you know, say you weren't on the computer and then you come on at 10 a.m. right here and you're like, okay, there's another entry over here, but you didn't see this one over here. So in this situation right here, this would have, I think it might have hit stop loss. Let's see. Yeah, so this one right here would have hit stop loss right here. So when this happens right here, if you hit a stop loss for a sell, then you're no longer looking for sells. You want to wait for price to shift in the other direction. And then
That's
now you're
another
looking
thing.
for buys.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. That's another one that I keep forgetting. Yeah, once.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessary for you to trade like how I do, but this is just the
Oh, no. It makes total sense. Yes, because I
uh,
used to do a little bit of scalping on a 15-minute on Forex. And I think that was the biggest part of losing, that it was like you take one scalp wrong in the wrong in the wrong direction, and you keep on trying
doing
to
it.
catch it again. Yeah.
And then you keep losing, right? Just keep stacking
Yeah.
more losses, more losses.
And then after 3 losses, you're just like, no, I'm done for today, as opposed to be able to make it back.
Exactly, yeah. So for me,
And then you look the next day how it all went the other way, and you're like so frustrated. Yes, it's very it's very brain damaging.
yeah, no, I agree. That's why for me, instead of some people, they'll keep stacking, like you said, they'll take one loss and they'll revenge trade. They'll say, oh no, this is maybe just manipulation. I'm gonna go again. And then they have another loss and another loss. And then, sooner than you know it, your account has been blown at that point. So for me, instead of stacking losses, when I have one loss here, I just wait, I just take a break. I'm like, okay, the market is not moving properly, because obviously, over here, clearly it's moving properly because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 wins here, and then you have one loss. So if that happens there, maybe it's time to take a break, just step away. And then after this, then I take buys instead of sells. So like, for example, here, as it continues to move on, again, well, actually, this is where price currently is. So that's as far as it goes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering I've never traded the Australian index, but the AU 200, but I wonder what is the actual move you can catch. Is it even worth scalping? Because if it's like 7 pips.
So I think it works fine here. So this is I think this is technically 76 pips. I know the Australian 200 is cheaper than the US 30. So I
It's still
personally,
good, you think? Yeah.
yeah, I think it's still decent. Obviously you would have to trade it a little bit to see how much it's worth, because if that's the case where you can only catch like, so right here, my spread is 20 pips, right? So my spread is 20 pips, or it's 10 pips. It looks like it's moving back and forth. You can actually make some pretty decent profit, because if your spread is only 10 pips and then you're going for 76 pips profit, you still can, you can still pocket maybe 50 or 500 pips. I'm not sure if this is 76 or 760. I'm assuming it's 76 because I wouldn't expect it.
Let me see on FTMO. Yeah, right. Okay, I have to look into that anyway. Okay, so it's safe not to look at the higher time frames is the message.
Exactly, yeah. If you're scalping, it's safe. If you're trading intraday, then yeah, it would make sense for you to look on the higher time frames, because if you're trading intraday, you're holding the position for hours, if not days. And if that's the case, then yeah, you want to see where the trend is moving on the higher time frame. But if you're scalping, you only want to know where price is moving, an hour to like maybe 2 hours from now. So if you're looking at that, if you look here on the 10-minute, you can just see 2 hours from here. So if you just move this side, you can see that this is 2 hours already. So there's no need for you to know, what's going on way over here, because you're going to be out of this trade within a few hours, right?
I'm just having all these moments of awakening when you do trading, because it's got like this so much to do with the rest of your life as well. Like, exactly, you focus on this big thing and this little thing is passing you by. It's just it's doing my head in lately. I feel like it's a bit surreal, the trading. You get into it so much, you don't know like what's happening anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm the same boat. Like when I first started trading, even till now, like everything revolves around trading, literally, because this is like my livelihood. I don't work anymore. I quit my job, so I just I trade all day, and it's been working pretty nicely. As long as you're able to focus on it, and then you can.
I'm really working hard on it. Yeah, I'm fighting not to go back to a corporate world, which is gonna kill my soul completely.
Oh,
and
exactly.
I'm trying. Yeah. But can I just ask you with this indicator, because this is you know, I know you don't look, so for this 10-minute scalping, you don't have the vertical lines turned on, you don't have the trend meter turned on, but I do.
Oh yeah.
How do I turn it off? No, I know there's one button, but when I look at it, it kind of makes, you know, it kind of makes, or does it make sense? Let me see.
So what I would do is, if you're scalping, so I know you like to have the trend meter on, right? 'Cause you like to know what the trend is. So what I would do is I would just change the trend meter, because you have it on the higher time frame. So it's
I did that. Yeah, I'm so proud of myself for thinking about it before you telling me.
exactly. You're looking too far ahead. You don't need to, like, it's kind of irrelevant to look that far ahead. So what I would do is I would just change it to the 10-minute, you know? If you do that, it makes a huge difference on your chart, because look, check this out. If you're looking at this here, it helps you a lot more, because at least for here, if you're taking this sell, you can see that it's blue right here. So you won't be worried to take that sell here, because you can see that price is already shifting from uptrend to now shifting to consolidation into downtrend.
So what would be your recommended settings for like 10 minutes?
I would I would probably just leave it on 10-minute. You can play around with it. I've played around with it before. Another thing you can do is you can put it to something very close. So if you don't want to just have 10-minute, you can change it to maybe 3-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute, and then possibly a little further, 15 minutes. So you can see, where price is going to be going. You can see that the trend meter here changes vastly, right? Because it was green here before.
Yeah.
But now it's blue. So you're not going to be afraid to take this trade, because you're like, okay, the trend meter is not green here. If it's blue, it's actually fine, because you can see that it's shifting from uptrend to now shifting to downtrend.
Right.
So
that
this is you can play around with it, see what you feel comfortable with, because obviously what I see is totally different from you, and your trade psychology is different. Maybe this will help you where it turns blue here and you're like, okay, I'm not going to be scared to take sells here because the trend is shifting.
No, but I think the key is that, like, it's just doing enough to trust it. So I'm gonna have to just do a few hours of back testing and see how it goes, because I did back test GJ on 30 minutes and it was perfect.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I did the whole January and it was amazing. The difficult part is to figure it out when to take profit and when to put stop loss, because obviously that can change everything.
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, that's why I like using fixed stop loss, fixed TP. Like for US 30, I just have 500 pips. I never go above it. I never go below it. Even if price goes above it, I take profit. Even if I can get more profit, I don't get greedy. I'll take my 500 and then next trade, because the win rate's so high. As long as you have, above a 50% win rate, there should be no problem for you making profit every month, right? Because as long as your win percentage is above and you're using a fixed TP stop loss, you should always be able to lock in profits time and time again. If the strategy works above a 50% win rate, which, as you can see here, if you back test anything, you'll see that it works obviously more than 50%. You'll win more than you lose.
Yeah.
So it's all So it's all about using a fixed lot size. I wouldn't, if you're scalping, I wouldn't adjust this TP stop loss. Just find a sweet spot. Like for US 30, I use 500. I think for the JPY pairs, it's probably about maybe 20 to 30 pip TP stop loss. That's like the sweet spot. For Aussie 200, I don't trade it, so I don't know what the sweet spot is. But just looking here at our TPs, it looks like it's between 60 and 75,
yes,
even higher.
Is right. Yeah, 60 was kind of like hitting every time.
Exactly. Because when you're scalping, your main goal is to just lock in profits, right? You want to make sure that you don't lose. It doesn't matter if it's 10 pips, 20 pips, 30 pips. As long as you keep winning and just keep winning, then that's all that really matters. Because when you're scalping, it becomes a game of numbers, right? It's all a game of probability. If your probability is above 50%, you're going to be profitable at the end of the week, end of the day, end of the month. And that's the real key. I feel like a lot of people, they get greedy. Like they'll see here, like, for example, we say 60 pips here. They see this, that they're like, oh, I can catch 100 pips. So maybe next time I'll go for, a bigger target. But if you just lock in 60 pips here, 60 pips here, it adds up. So if you have 60,
but with scalping like this, when you have multiple opportunities during the day, that should not really be much of a problem, because you just can catch another trade. You can catch that move still. The problem with that is when your strategy doesn't allow you for so many entries and you have one chance a day to get a trade,
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why for for our intraday strategy, we have a bigger TP, bigger stop loss because we're going for one trade or a few trades a day versus when you're scalping, you have like, 10, 20 opportunities a day, depending on what you're trading. I see some people, they have like 6 charts open. It's crazy. They have like Aussie 200 here, US 30 here, and they're trading all of them at once. They're profitable, but it's stressful because you're looking at so many things. But if you're just looking at one, it should be fine for you to cover it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Shawn.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad
I was trying to trade all of them at the same time, and you know what? And there was a moment that I could see clearly amazing trades when you look at the 4-hour zones and 1-hour zone, and there is no zones at that in that and where the price action is at the moment, and you take a trade on a 30-minute. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. No, definitely.
So it's maybe still okay to do sometimes just like a quick Google through all your pairs and see no zone on 4-hour, no zone on 1 hour, heaps room to go on a 30-minute, and maybe you can let that one run.
Exactly. Yeah. So
like
that's
this,
that's what I do too. So I take the Forex pairs on the 4-hour. That's like my, intraday trades. I let that run pretty much all day. Like I think we have 2 trades running right now for Forex. And then for my scalping, that's where I use US 30 because it moves so fast where I can make profits, quickly throughout the day. So what I would recommend is find a pair that you like to trade. Just find one pair and just focus on that. Just that one pair. And then once you're comfortable, then you can move on to other ones because obviously you'll start to notice that each pair moves differently. Like GJ
of
moves,
course, yeah.
Like GJ moves totally different from GA. They're totally different pairs. So like once you master one, then you can move on to the next one.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Definitely, no problem. Yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out because I know like some people don't want to ask questions, but I could feel that this session probably helped you out to clear up a lot of confusion that you possibly had.
Yes, definitely. And it's not, it's very clear. If you put rules on the paper, it's really clear. There's not much question to be had. And yet it's just this human nature of wanting to be reassured, of wanting to be just like, no, it's good, it's okay, this is the right way you did it. And it really helps.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's good that you caught like a lot of trades too on your own, so it shows that you actually understand this and you're actually getting it. It's not like you're just going through the motion, you're actually learning and you're picking it up as you go.
Yeah, I have to just really focus and just take my own trades, and it's very tempting when you see the profits for this week is such and such. If you've taken all those signals, you would have profited this much. And I'm like, oops, that's a trap for me right there.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just have to focus on what you're good at. Don't take every single trade because if you do that, then it can end up very badly if it ends up being a bad market during that time.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is something that lingers with me, and like, oh, why did I do it? I knew not to do it, so I'll just focus on my own trades and hopefully I'll catch some good ones. Maybe I can, but I will know if they were good or not. I will see green or red anyway.
Exactly. And then if you have like, say you spot a trade and you're confused, whether it's good a trade or not, you can just send me a screenshot. Just take a screenshot of your chart, send it to me, and I'll confirm with you. I'll let you know, this is a good trade or this is a risky trade or it's a bad trade. And then I'll give you that confidence, that you identified that. And if I confirm that it's a good trade, then you can be confident you can go ahead and take it. Rather than, I know sometimes if you take a trade, you'll be worried. You're not sure if it's a good trade or not. But you have me as a resource. So if you want to show it to me, I can confirm, and then you can take that trade after I confirm it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely, no problem.